Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. It's Thursday. Time for another workshop. Is everybody excited?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Course.
Good. Yep. So we started a little late today. I mean, about an hour late, but we started a minute early to the hour late. So we're on time. So in today's workshop, we're going to be sort of referencing the last workshop that we did, which was the Pomodoro app, the Focus app. In the last workshop, we looked at the original design, and Zach went through how to implement that and make a full working app with it. So today, what we're going to do is go through some different versions of the artwork and animations and show you some different ways that you can take the same state machine or concept and create something completely different. Doesn't have to be a tomato, can be a tomato. But we'll look at a couple different versions. So we're going to start off with Michael, who's got a really, really cool example. I'm excited to look at this one and see how you did it all.
Let's just see if I can figure out how to share my screen without a hiccup this time.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a...
So far, so good.
Oh my gosh, dude, very efficient.
Did I do it?
You're there.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. All right. So I decided to not do a tomato, even though like my heart really wanted to. But I thought I'd try, a little something different. So this is what I ended up doing, was just a guy working and playing, working during the work time and playing a video game during his break. So I'll go ahead and play this. So I've got all the UI hooked up for the most part. So while the working session is going, he's playing. Whoops, I should reset this to 0. So once the timer hits, he goes to playing. I bet he's playing Minecraft or something like that. So he'll do that for a while, and then I've set this up so that once it hits 200, I'll go back to playing or go back to working. Oops. Oh, that's why this has to be reset. Okay, cool.
So is the clock actually hooked up there too? I think I saw it.
So it's hooked up to the time input.
Oh, that's cool.
So that would have to be driven through code. But Robert, the way you had hooked up the original tomato was pretty interesting, in that you could have it kind of loop in a smaller animation and then stop. But I couldn't really do that with like the one hand clock. So I think that would have to be something that, we would address in code. And then this is it's very similar to the original state machine setup. I kind of didn't mess too much with the stop stuff because I was still playing around with some things. But it's set up in a similar way. There's a few things I did differently, but tried to keep I did keep all the inputs the same. So should theoretically work out if we were to try and swap this one with the original that Zach worked on. But yeah, one thing to note is this is the animations layer, and then I have all the buttons are on a separate layer, and then the timer is just a blend on another layer. So yeah, it was fun. It was a fun project. I'm really excited to see what everybody else came up with. And I did end up like fully rigging the character, which made it really easy to do the transition between his like the to break transition. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this animation is really, really cool.
It's awesome.
The transition.
So yeah, I'll this will be up. I'm gonna imagine all of these at some point will be up on the community, so people can look at this and take what they want from it in terms of how it's set up and things like that.
Now I gotta ask, did you make any design changes in animate mode on this one?
I almost did at the very end. I'm being completely honest. I didn't. The only time I almost did was I was gonna try and do like an overlay, like
Yeah.
so during the break, like the lights go dim and there's just light from the computer, and I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna do that. But I actually drew the rectangle in animate mode, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I didn't actually do it. It actually stuck. When I went back to design, it was the same thing. So I didn't technically screw up, but it was. I'm still saying I'm day 12 of 2023, and I still haven't designed in animate mode.
How long did this take you, Michael?
I think the longest part of it was just the initial like design, so getting my sketch in, and the sketch was half hour, and then vectoring, like tracing everything in Rive, always takes the longest. I think not anything about the tools, but that's just that trying to make sure everything's layered correctly and thinking about which pieces will animate and how I want to rig it. And then the animation was, I think I just spent a couple days, like not full working days, but a couple days to animate and figure it all out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks great.
All right.
Well, good job on that one, Michael.
Thank you.
That's really cool. All right, so next up we're going to look at, Pedro's state machine.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to, to present. Here it is. Share screen. Here it is. Okay. Are you saying the screen?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, I chose a tomato because I couldn't avoid that, because it was like too tempting to have like a tomato with big eyes saying hi like this. So I made I changed a little bit the state machine to see it working. So here it is. And it's very simple because I wanted like only 2 animations. So I'm going to press, here it is. And this is the one that I love more because it's the simple, but I like the eyes pointing to the button, like saying click there. Here it is. When you press play, here it is, start marching, like making the time with the feet. And when the time is over 100, here it is, goes to the second stage. And next, when you press play, you have the break moment. Here it is, where he is like sleeping and recovering for the next cycle. So in this case, it's the same thing. When the idle is over 100, this will be made with code. You go to the beginning again. So in this case, my character is more simple than I think that Michael one. But I used to some bones to when I have seen that you have used the bones, the rigging for the hair. I have remembered that I have the same thing. It's like one thing that is very cool about Rife is the bone system, the rigging system. Lets you to make these little rigs with, for example, in this case, the arms or the hair. And you can animate this so easily later that it's very fun to animate, and it's very fast and very easy. For example, for the little stick here, you have another one. And for the arms, I have the same thing. The legs are just shapes, because I only wanted to do like this kind of movement. So I'm animating directly the vector points because I didn't need something advanced. And I know that for the size, it's better to have a little rig, because in the end, it's going to be less weight. But in this case, I prefer to move the points, and that's it. And here, for the Cs, as we don't have yet a path following, I think it's here. I'm going to look for that because it's something that some people ask sometimes. You can make this path that is making like a curve just by animating separately the y and the x. The y is just going up from here to here, but in the x I have 4 keyframes, so you can make like no, it's not a path, but you can simulate that and have not a linear movement that I think it's more interesting for that. I suppose if we have paths, I will use for that a path. It will be easier, but it makes the job with that, so you don't need that.
Oh, that movement of those Z's looks great. I think that's
It's just that trick that I think was this week when someone asked for this in the Thursday live stream, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an application of that, and that's it.
Looks great.
Looks
I'm going to
awesome.
stop the present. Here it is.
All right. Now it's time for Laura's, who's also got a silly tomato character.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Let me refresh. Dude, I lost the other one. Sorry, I
No.
have to go to the. Shoot. I think it's this one, but I'm not 100% sure. Okay, I'm gonna start saying do as I say, not what I do, because as you're seeing here, what did I didn't do?
I don't see a root
Robert.
group.
That's right, I didn't root group. And when I have to go to the project, the real project, everything was messed up. So I'm going to show this one that it's not messed up yet, but it's not rooted correctly. I'm going to show my states. This is first the tomato, it's a rasterized layer, and I meshed this green part. I don't know how you call it in English, this part. And what's the name? Do you know?
I think it's the hair.
It's
tomato hair.
Tomato hair, that's right. So I meshed this, and this is all I meshed. I didn't want to play too much with the mesh of this. It was super simple. I wanted to achieve that Muppet puppet feeling. So this is my idle animation. When work start, you go from the idle animation to the work. You're studying. Then I needed a work idle for the idle state, and then I needed a work finish, which was the fun part.
That would be perfect if there was like an alarm playing. Like
Yeah, that's true. The break start after you completed your routine. You have your break start, and then the idle while you're taking the break, and then everything comes to an end. So you're back. Your finish is ended. Your break is ended. What did I do wrong is many things, but one is this original project is way more bigger, and the format, as you see, is square. It's not a big problem, but it's not ideal. So I had to bring this whole group and scale it down, and that's when I messed things up. I tried to kind of, let me see, fix this, but the eyes were kind of misplaced, and some other stuff was misplaced, like the cup, mostly the cup and the eyes. They messed up when I came here and scaled it down, the whole group. But the state machine, it's working. So let's listen to this. This is a state machine. I recreated the one that Robert put together. So once you hit play, you are working. And if I type here 100, your time's up. I'm gonna go against 0 and time. So if I play start from this point, you have your break. And if I go to 100 now, your break is over. So this was pretty much it. The worst part was that I messed up on those points I made before, but rebuilding the state machine was not complicated. It was super simple. It was easy. And the fun part for me was obviously the animation and the rigging. I took some how you say, tips from JC and Robert from their tutorials, and rigging was super fun. And so I think this is pretty much it for me.
Sweet.
A newbie question. Should have grouped in the beginning so that you can keep all the transforms and everything together. So if you had to resize it or...
Yep. Because once you start adding, the problem is once you add animation keys to animate mode, if you change the scale or you regroup something,
it's in relation to the main position.
Exactly. So as long as you group it beforehand, you shouldn't have any problems. But if you end up doing that where you've animated everything and you don't have it all in a root group, what you can do is take all of the stuff that's in your artboard and group it, make a root group. But instead of having the origin in the center of the board or wherever the default group is placed, you can drag it and put it at the origin of the artboard, and then everything is back to the same place. So there's some ways to recover from it. It's not like the end of the world. So it's, but it's always best to do it beforehand.
And like the comments about the artboard being 2000 by 2000, is that too big for the artboard size, or is it because it's square, or what was the issue there?
The issue was because I have to scale all that down, and that messed the things up. There's something I still can't understand. It's with the controllers. When you put controllers on, I still don't fully understand why the eyes were messed up, because all of that was in a group, another group. So I don't understand why that was messed up.
Was there a constraint involved?
It's a constraint, translation constraint.
Maybe something with the constraint and then the scale being different. I'm not necessarily sure. Not
yeah,
100%. All right, well, good job, Laura. I will show. So I was obviously out the last time we had a workshop. Did y'all go through the original state machine and all that stuff? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, just as a quick thing, I want to go through it one more time. Because there was a weird thing with the idle state, so I want to talk about that really quick if I can ever find this thing. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Wow, having all these tabs open, not smart. Hang on. Oh, we're getting there. Percent. There we go. All right, we did it, I think. Yep, we did it. All right, cool. Okay, so the original design that y'all have looked at went through like 3 different iterations. So the first tomato timer had this idle animation here that would just spin the tomato between this line and this line to make it look like it was just continuously turning. But the problem that I ran into was when I went to the stop state, it would stop either in between lines or on a specific line. And then when I'd start it up, it would rewind or snap back to the original spot. So the next state machine that I built tried to fix that. And I'm obviously missing some animations here, but I'll kind of explain what these are for. I have an idle input that when we start this thing up, let's see. All right, so when we start this up, the same idle animations played, but in the background, what's happening is there's a hitbox that shows up or gets replaced here every time a line aligns with the arrow here. So when the first line is aligned with this, if I hit stop, it will set my idle value to 3 because it's basically aligned with that third line. And I would start again, and it would go into this animation state that was the same work idle animation, but instead of starting at this big fat line here, the idle animation would start at the third line so that you wouldn't have as much snapping left and right. It would still snap a little bit, but it wasn't as egregious as the first one, and then continue the loop from there. So that's what this idle input on the second state machine was doing. And then all of them just transitioned to the finish animation when the time got to whatever the time was. And then we finally ended up on state machine 3, which y'all saw in the workshop and all that. So from there, I remixed the thing. Yeah, okay, cool. And built this little guy who's building a house. So we'll just go through it really quick. So at the beginning, he's just standing there sort of flipping his hammer up and down. We start, the concrete builds up on top of the grass, and then as time progresses, I forgot that it was a big number, so we can't just scroll through it. The house actually starts building, he repositions himself, starts working on a different part, and that continues throughout the entire process. So we've got that.
Wow.
That, and then the house is finished. So it's time to take a break. So now he's going to jump off the roof onto a little thing and take a nap. And so once we're done with the nap, it's time to get back to work. So some of the things that are different about this state machine than the other ones is that the layers got a little more complex. So the house layer is pretty simple. This just controls the house's like intro animations. So as we start, we'll go into 1. So it's just going to stay in this state until the time changes. So it doesn't matter if we hit start or anything like that. It's still playing, or stop. It's still playing this animation. And when we go back, it's still on that, and it's not going to change until we get to what was it, 20,000. And then it goes to the second one, third one, fourth one, and then into the break. The buttons are essentially the same as the original state machine layer over here. You can see it here. It's very similar. The only animation that's missing is this blend animation. So I can just remove that, and mostly kept the same for everything else. So I've got all these are controlling my buttons. And then the character. So the character follows basically the same flow as before, where we have an animation playing when we're idling. So they're just standing there. And then my next idle is here, but I need a transition animation. So there's a transition animation between each idle. So here's the first idle, second idle, first idle, second idle, third idle, and then we've got the transition animations in between those. So on start, it'll play that intro, and then go into the second animation. And then once we hit whatever time it is, 20,000, go to the next one, so on and so forth. The stop and start, or the stop and restart animations will only ever play from one of these idle animations. So you can see I've got the stop here that it can go to. This animation right here, that initial or the second idle animation has an idle. And those, again, those have transition animations. So I think on this one, the worker is kneeling down. Yeah, kneeling and hammering on the slab. And so if we stop, we want him to stand up. So we have that transition animation into that idle. And then when you start, it just snaps back into place. There's no transition between there. So that's the only, the idle stop to whatever idle animation it was playing. There's no transition. It just snaps back and forth. I think that is all of the changes here. Some of the things that I did wrong on this one. So I like how the state machine works. It was all set up. It runs just fine. I did make some rigging errors. I was trying out some new stuff with the way that I rigged things. So instead of making a bone chain, I was trying to use this for a knee and this for the foot, where I could scale it and do all that stuff. It didn't work out perfectly. I think if I was going to do this again, maybe instead of these like bubble legs where it's actually like a traced out path, I would probably just use a stroke and rig it normally. With the hammer, tossing the hammer was a little difficult because the hammer group is just a child of this bone here. So what I had to do in the animation, take a look at that really quick. Normally I would do that with a constraint, a transform and rotation constraint, but I didn't do that this time. So where was it at? I think it's just not break idle. Here we go. So with this, I actually had to stop the arm in the up position. So stop the arm there, and then the arm doesn't move while the hammer's in the air, so that the hammer isn't like moving this way or this way. And then this motion happens so fast that you can't really see that the hammer's kind of moving just a little bit at the end. So that I think is really the only animation trick that I used in this whole thing. I think everything else is pretty standard stuff. So
Love the hammer animation. It's really,
Yeah.
really smooth.
Yeah, it's cute.
Thanks. I think that's it for me. We've got a bunch of time left, so I think we're gonna let Zach take over here and show you how easy it is to take an updated file and update your tomato timer with it. I say easy,
Yeah.
but you know.
It was pretty sensible. All right, I thought StreamYard could share desktops, but it's making me share my entire screen, so apologies for 1 second. Okay, are you seeing the app?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Okay, cool. Perfect. So what we've got here is the existing Pomodoro app that we built the last workshop. Without going into too many details, and you can find the code in the last workshop. It's an open source project. We've integrated the Rive animation widget with the Pomodoro Rive file, the artboard, and we're instancing the state machine as well. So, just setting up the state machine as normal, and we were using the Dart timer class to be able to basically every 5 milliseconds update the time state machine input to advance time. Now, in the Rive files that Robert and company worked with, I think it was based on 60 seconds, but for the purposes of this demo, we'll shorten that to 6 seconds. So you'll see here, instead of incrementing by 5, I'm incrementing by 50. Now, to actually add what I'm going to work with Robert's here, as you can see, Robert's file, I added a separate Rive file here. Imagine you were just swapping the asset. And so to work with Robert's, all I would do here is switch the reference with Rive animation.asset from assets Pomodoro to assets. This would be probably a more appropriate name, but I just called it Robert.Rive. And the artboard is called worker. If we go back into the editor, yeah, it's the worker artboard. And then the last thing we're going to change is the state machine name. I think this was called worker machine. But the inputs stayed the same. The logic mostly stayed the same, so I don't need to concern myself with changing much there. If I restart the app, we'll go ahead and play with Robert's example here. So I'm going to hit play. Based on that 6-second timer, it's kind of speeding through that animation. So we've got that work time, and then now we're heading into our break. And cool, yeah, so we had that 6-second break there, and it jumped right back to the start. Some funkiness here with some of the addition I'm doing, or subtraction. But I can continue to replay this. I can stop. You'll see that it's still animating there. I'll keep going. And continue to play through. So yeah, again, I didn't really need to change any of the logic we went over last time as far as adding the timer, and even though the states changed, really we didn't need to change much of the setup here at all, just the references to what's the new artboard we're working with, and potentially it stays the same. What's the new file, and I'm sorry, this is the artboard, and then the name of the state machine, using the state machine controller. So yeah, that's all we did there to get that to work, and swap out from the existing Pomodoro example we went over last time. Okay, I'm gonna.
Sweet. Yep. So I think this just goes to show that as long as you don't really change your inputs up, well, if you don't change your inputs, then the handoff process for updating assets, things like that, is pretty straightforward. So you could get one of a number of different apps. Maybe they don't like the tomato, whoever you're building the app for, they don't like the tomato. They want somebody sitting in a chair. Well, that's cool, you can do that. And maybe they don't want somebody sitting in a chair. Maybe they want, I don't know, what else, aliens or something coming down and taking you to something. Anyways, yeah. It's easy enough to switch out. All right, so I think that's it. We'll go through any questions anybody has, and then we'll get out of here. Zach, this is a common reoccurring question, so let's see if your answer has changed. All right, is it possible to change the color of a nested artboard shape programmatically in Flutter?
Yeah, we get this quite a lot. Not specifically this one, but changing the color of a shape in an artboard. Thankfully, with Flutter, for those of you maybe not familiar, with the Flutter runtime, you can change the colors programmatically. It's a bit hacky, but you basically, from the artboard, object once you get it on init, you can traverse its children and basically go through that hierarchy that you see on the left side on the editor to go through all those children, the nodes, the shapes, and you can change the fills and stroke colors dynamically whenever you need. Particularly with nested artboards, I don't think we've actually tried that one with shapes inside nested artboards. So I'm curious, Jitender, if does it come across in the children as an artboard object when you're traversing it? And are you able to inspect those children? Or I assume not, but curious to see what the finding is there. But it'd be a good example for us to try and play with.
Cool. All right, we'll hang out for another few minutes, see if any more questions come in. So somebody had an idea for a workshop. I forgot. Was it you, Laura, who was suggesting a workshop for next time?
Because of Michael's question about if some of us have something with customizable characters, like you can put glasses, different clothes, hair.
Yeah, I wonder if there's interest in basically a skinning demo, how to make different character skins.
Yeah, that'd be cool if we all had a character and everybody built like a different hat or something, and we could just rifle through all the different accessories and stuff like that. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
I got dibs on tomato hair.
Tomato hair.
I'm making a duck hat.
What is that?
Oh.
Duck hat.
See in the comments that apparently the tomato hair is called sepal.
Oh yeah, I see.
Never heard of that word.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't
Noted.
I don't have too much of a green thumb. I grew a bean one time in like 3rd grade, which was pretty good. I actually remember a lot of cool science projects from like 3rd grade. We even had so just while we're kind of hanging out, they brought in this big table that had like sand. It was covered in sand, and it was like an archaeology project or whatever, where we all got in there with like little brushes and brushed away stuff. Yeah, between that and Jurassic Park, I wanted to be an archaeologist for the longest time. And then I found out you had to go to school for that, and I was like, all right, I got to go to my fallback of like robot, maybe fire hydrant. Like, we can't be doing this.
Robert, I have to ask, the bean one, was that where you'd got like the paper towel wet and like put it? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
In the plastic bag or whatever.
Yeah, are they still doing
baggie?
that? Are they still doing that? I mean, I only ask because you have kids, not because I think you go to, 3rd grade class or something.
Yeah, I thought you were asking me specifically in your 3rd grade class. Is that what you guys do?
Actually,
of course, that's what they still do.
You never know.
No, it's all in VR now. They get
true.
No, do it all in Oculus, like or in a Meta headset thing.
So it's a Rive app with a growing plant.
That'd be kind of cool.
Ooh. I actually have
science project.
I've been booting up my my Oculus again recently. So it's funny you mentioned that. That thing sat on a shelf for a year. I hadn't touched it in a while.
That's what I was worried about. I keep seeing them. I'm like, oh, it'd be really fun to play around with, sculpting in VR or something like that. And I like, nope, I'll do it for a few days and I'll be like, it's gonna go on my shelf for a while.
Yeah, I actually there. I'm sure some of y'all know what Roblox is. Michael, you must because you have kids. Gordon's a gamer. He knows. Zach, you know what Roblox is?
I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
Never played it though.
Yeah, I've never played Roblox either, but I get the concept where it's like an open source sort of like game engine and everybody, it's like all about modding and stuff. Well, there is a game like it on Oculus, and they have this little sculpting mode that you can go into. And that was what I did when I got my Oculus for the first like month. I would jump in there and it was like a kid's game, but I sat in there and like was drawing out all these blocks and stuff and doing all kinds of stuff. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in, so we're going to go ahead and call it early. That's it for the streaming schedule this week, so we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll have a creative stream next week, and that is Michael.
It's me. Yeah.
That'll be fun. No workshop next week. See, we always get the last minute question.
Last minute
knew it was
question.
coming.
Yes.
Yeah,
We
you
need to
gotta-
do next time we'll do a fake out. Or we'll be like, all right,
We
we're
need-
not really leaving, but we're gonna say we're leaving, and then see if we get a question.
Maybe I did just 4D chess that, and I just knew it. All right. Does Rive relate to AI? We don't have any AI integrations or anything like that. I think some of us have played with like generating AI assets and then animating. I've done a couple. I know Michael's done some. Laura's done some. That's about as far as we've integrated. Well, that's not even integrated. So right now, no.
Not yet.
You meant AI, not Adobe Illustrator, right? Because
Maybe.
I know that's not what you mean, but
It could be. No, you're totally right. How much? All right, you answer down that path. Go for it.
I'm almost positive it's artificial intelligence, but
Yeah.
But if it's Adobe Illustrator,
Then-
it doesn't
Oh.
relate.
no, it's really not. No, it doesn't.
No,
It in some ways it can be kicked out.
Okay, so it is an AI tool question.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as Illustrator goes, you can export from Illustrator and drop it into Rive. That does work. As far as the AI tools we recommend working with, I've only used Midjourney. I did try Stable Diffusion, but when I was trying it was not very good. So my recommendation is, I just said it and I blanked on the name. What is it?
Midjourney.
Thank
Midjourney.
you, Midjourney. Yeah. Does anybody else have any suggestions for that?
Could potentially ask ChatGPT to do like the runtime implementation, but it would be dependent on like when the data was trained. So like if it might be like an older version of the runtimes,
Yeah.
so maybe something has changed.
Yeah,
But,
I haven't
yeah,
tried
I'm
that.
trying to-
That'd be scary.
We should try that. That would be
Probably in the
interesting to see if
future.
it works.
It's like our DevRel role will
jobs.
just be
We're on the
ChatGPT.
line.
No, I'm not working with I'm not replacing y'all with an AI. Like, it's just, I can't hop on a call with ChatGPT unless it does talk with you. I will say though that one of the tough things about working with Midjourney is that things have improved a little bit, and it depends on what you want to do. The like cutting up process and the back painting process and all that stuff is kind of a pain, but it depends on what you're looking for. If you want to make a character for a game, you're probably best to just use this as a reference and do your own artwork. But if you're just trying to practice and you want some assets to do it with, then you can generate something simple and do a quick cutout. And if you don't really care too much about like the end quality, you can cut some corners there. But I like working with Midjourney. I think it's a cool tool.
Yeah, the tomato I made, it's the tomato itself. I typed felted tomato as I did a couple of more search for that. Like I wanted to look like a Muppet, but the final result with the eyes and the mouth was not what I wanted. So I ended up just using as the base the tomato. I retouched it a little bit in Photoshop and then I added the eyes as vectors.
Okay. This is the 40 chess
Last
move.
minute question or
We're gonna get out of here. Once again, no. This is we're it for streaming this week. No workshop next week. We got a creative session. Normal Tuesday stream. So make sure you bring in your questions and anything like that. And yeah, we'll see y'all on Tuesday.
See you.
See you.
Bye.
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 Bye.